Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for October 19th to October 25th of 2014. And on October 19th, we have the sun. It's denoted here by the black circle with the dot in it. It's in Libra and it's in the 32nd hexagram, which we can see on the outside of the wheel, of course, numbered from bottom to top. The 32nd hexagram goes yin, yang, 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 yin, yin. And the 32nd hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And here we have the 32nd gate of continuity, duration. The only thing that endures is change. It's located in the splenic center in a tribal energy path in the ego circuit called the channel of transformation, a design of being driven that connects to the 54th gate of ambition, the Marian maiden interaction in its mundane social context, but also one's mystical and cosmic relationships. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on October 19th. We have the sun in the 32. We have Earth in the 42. The north node is in the 57. The south node in the 51. We have Mercury is retrograde also in the 57. And then Venus is also in the 32. Mars is up in the 11th gate. Jupiter is in the 7th gate. Saturn in the 43rd gate. We have Uranus is retrograde in the 21. Neptune is retrograde in the 55. And Pluto is in the 38th gate. So obviously not every activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com and clicking on the button that says get your free rave chart and then entering in your birth information. And the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. No matter what the weather is, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we have no channel definitions due to the transit field. And we're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. Of course, if your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can just kind of notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On October 19th, we have the sun it's in the 6th line of the 32nd hexagram, in the role model line on the roof of the hexagram. The sun in the 32.6 is tranquility, the need to calmly face impermanence, exalted the underlying acceptance of change that may or may not lead to tranquility, the instinctive awareness to accept change and transformation. Detriment and impermanence is proof of the meaninglessness with its attendant manifestations, depression, delusion, and in extreme self-destruction. Fear experience when change is experienced as impermanence and the potential for depression. And 6 line days, again up here on the roof of the hexagram. When you think about the 6th line, it's usually looking at what's beyond. If you're sitting on the roof of a house, you're not looking at the house so much. You're looking at everything else in the neighborhood, and that's what we see with 6 line energy and Ra talked about not getting stuck with your head in the clouds, because you might have something run into your kneecaps. So it's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going around you, because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. Like a 3rd line day, there's certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. Things like that are common with the 6th line energy. And then later on the 19th, the sun moves from the 32nd hexagram to the 50th hexagram here. So here. And with that, we have the Earth moves from the 42 to the 3. We're leaving the 32nd hexagram there because Venus is still there. 32nd gate there because Venus is still there. So the Earth moves from the 42 into the 3rd hexagram in the gate of ordering difficulty at the beginning. The fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order. And this shift happens at 4:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All the times I'm going to be giving you are Eastern Daylight Time. So you want to convert that to your local time zone. And so we do have the sun. It's in the 50th gate of values, the cauldron, the values of historical continuity, whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and the future. And the sun, of course, it moves into the first line, the investigative line of the 50th gate. And at the 50 in the first line is the immigrant, humbleness of origin that benefits rather than restricts destiny. Exalted, the desire to be effective and successful that builds on the most fundamental strengths while it refines its nature. The awareness that growth and refinement of values will benefit destiny. Detriment, a dissatisfaction with or embarrassment with origins that makes an obsession of refinement, a dissatisfaction with original values that demands refinement. And so when we've got the sun in the first, second, and third line of any hexagram, it's the lower trigram. It's more personal. People are more absorbed in their own process. Looking more inward. The first line, the investigative line, is the theme is fear. It's an anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study or look into things or deal with things you don't understand, you can't make sense of, or don't know. And then also on the 19th, Jupiter moves from the 7 up into the 4. And so Jupiter is generalized law and the electromagnetic central operating theater for which the solar system operates, according to Ra. And living by the law can bring great good fortune. Activations in our human design charts tell us about the law we must live by. To benefit from generosity not only comes from deep obedience to honoring your own law, your individual strategy and authority. And Jupiter in the 4th gate is formalization, youthful folly, the energy to beguile and succeed despite ignorance, freedom from retribution. Jupiter is direct, so it's in the first line of the 4th hexagram of pleasure. Ultimate pleasure cannot be achieved without perfect timing. Exalted, the instinct to know the right moment and circumstances where pleasure is rewarded and not punished. The potential to recognize that there is a natural timing to understanding to the understanding process. Detriment, timing is not a product of discipline. Exaggerated self-discipline leads to abuse of pleasure. The potential to recognize, but with the urge to force the timing. And then we get to the 20th. And so on the 20th, the sun moves into the second line of the 50th hexagram. The shift happens at 3:08 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun's exalted in the 50th hexagram in the second line and is described as determination. Exalted, the strength of purpose that can enjoy overcoming adversity to achieve its goals. The strength derived from maintaining one's values in the face of opposition of conditioning. And second line days, everyone's waiting for something. They're waiting to be called. This is the land of the hermit. So people are stuck in their own trip. So it might not be a great day to have a big social gathering because people would rather stay home under that hermit energy. And then also on the 20th, Venus moves from the 32nd hexagram and gate and joins the Sun in the 50th hexagram. And in human design, Venus it is very powerful and deeply misunderstood, according to Ra. It brings morality, natural law in which we deal with the other, and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you on a moral level? Well, Ra talked about that your design and personality Venuses may tell you of the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life, and that if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. And Venus in the 50th gate values the cauldron, the values of historical continuity, whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and the future. Venus is detrimented in the first line of the 50, and exalted when it gets to the sixth line of the 50. So Venus in the 50 in the first line is the immigrant, humbleness of origin that benefits rather than restricts destiny, detrimented, a dissatisfaction with or embarrassment with origins that makes an obsession of refinement, a dissatisfaction with original values that demands refinement. And then on the 21st, the Sun moves into the third line. So it's moved up into the line of the martyr, again, of the 50th hexagram. Shift happening at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The Sun in the 50 in the third line is adaptability, exalted. When unable to make it alone, it will naturally align itself with nurturing and protective forces. The awareness that to maintain one's principles and values, the support of others is necessary. Detrimented, a resentment when its natural mental gifts are ignored and is forced to curry favor in order to survive. Discomfort with the awareness that one cannot stand alone by one's principles. And third line days, okay, we're in the line of the martyr here. So think about it: bonds made and broken, a trial and error process, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. So, this is a day to be careful on the roads, be careful of things that might bump into you, whether it's a door or somebody's elbows. You might have bonds made and broken, third line days, again, a trial and error process where things bump into you. It's a good material day. It might be a good day for doing business or work on the material plane, but you have to be careful because things can go wrong. But the things that do go wrong are here to lead us to discovery. And then on the 22nd, the Sun moves up into the fourth line of the 50. The shift happening at 12:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where it is described as corruption, the lack of enriching values. Exalted, the malefic gift for turning inferior values into material success, the capacity to maintain one's strength despite inferior values, detrimented with such energy and no traditional values, the worst can be expected. The potential disregard of values that may lead to corruption or the breakdown of the defense system. And fourth line days, this represents where we're shifting from the lower trigram, first, second, third lines, to the upper trigram of the fourth, fifth, and sixth lines. We're moving from a personal process to a transpersonal process. And so we're moving from an inward perspective to looking more outward. With the fourth line, we've got the themes of friendship, companionship, networking. So fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are more open to networking or to being friendly and social. And then we get to the 23rd. and where the sun moves up into the fifth line, the heretical line of the 50th hexagram, shift happening at 10:57 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 55 is described as consistency. When continuity has brought success, it should not be tampered with. Exalted, the disciplined and natural conservatism to avoid unnecessary change. The conservative awareness that basic principles should not be abandoned casually. Detriment, a perverse reaction to rebel against the methodology of one's very success. When effectively stimulated, the drive to rebel against basic principles. And so the fifth line is heretical. So this is a day of suspicion. It's also a day of universalization, where something spreads rapidly, whether it's a YouTube video or perhaps a Facebook posting or something like that, where it just gets a lot of hits and goes viral. That's a fifth line energetic. So we're also dealing with a great deal of suspicion and paranoia. Of course, as I've said before, it's not really paranoia if they're out to get you. Think of the fifth line day. It's about projection, and the projection is always positive, followed by negative. So it starts with, they'd be great for that. They're perfect for that, whatever it is. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it for whatever reason, the expectation is not met, that's when the punishment comes in. This can impact the nature of our relationships. Projection or seduction are also themes of a fifth line day. And then also on the 23rd, Mars moves from the 11 to the 10. So, Saturn jumping off here. Stay. Let's see what's going to be. Get Mars in here. Need a little more Mars to make the full connection. So as you can see, this transit is defining something good here. And that seems pretty good. My goodness, this is Mercury retrograde, you know? All right, which then, of course, means a defined G center and a defined splenic center. And we'll go with that. So anyway, Mars is in the gate of the behavior of the self, treading the underlying code of behavior that ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. Mars is detrimented in the second and the fifth line of the 10th hexagram. Mars is direct, so we start out in the first line. Which is modesty, the innate sense of to know and accept one's place and act despite circumstances. Exalted, a valued sense of purpose no matter what the position. The ability to know one's place and how to act despite circumstances. Detrimented, the affliction of oversensitivity and hurt feelings. Oversensitivity to external conditioning behavior. And Ra talked about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype. And by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. And with Mars in the 10th gate, and we've got Mercury and the North Node in the 57th gate. This gives us the channel of perfected form until the 31st of October. This is designed for survival where behavior becomes art. Defined splenic center, brings intuition and well-being. And Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit that defines the splenic center. The influence of this transit may be that folks need to perfect their form, however they define that, whether it's their bodies, their work, their homes, their art, whatever form means to them. This brings the love of art that is created simply for the enjoyment of the artist. And folks may find that they have more of an ability to think on their feet under this influence. It's individual circuitry. So with that, it brings melancholy or these kind of blue feelings, which are really best channeled into some type of creative activity. And then on the 24th, the sun then moves up into the 6th line of the 50th hexagram, and where it's and that shift happens at 9:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 50th hexagram, 6th line, is exalted due to Venus also being in the 50th hexagram. And this is leadership. Exalted, the gift in a position of power to maintain harmony even in severity. The strength to maintain one's values with vigor and continue to have harmonic relationships with others. And like we talked about earlier, 6th line, we're up on the roof of the hexagram. We're looking beyond the local environment. So again, just being aware that maybe people are not focused on what's happening right around them to avoid bumping into things or having things bump into you, or things happen that perhaps are beyond what you think. Like all of a sudden you get a bill that you didn't expect, or there's a car that in your blind spot that or even not, that you just didn't expect. And then on the 25th, we have the Venus moves from the 50 to the 28. Which then defines the root center. And then, leaving the sun in the 50, but it is followed by the sun moving into the 28 later in the day. And also with that, we have the Earth moving from the 3rd hexagram into the 27th. And with the Earth, it's in the 27th gate of caring, nourishment, that the enhancement of the quality of substance in all activities through caring. The shift happens at 8:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with the sun in the 28th gate of the game player, a preponderance of the great, the transitoriness of power and influence. And the sun's detrimented in the 28-1 due to Venus also being in the 28, and is described as preparation, detrimented, the aesthetic appreciation of planning that may have no real application, and intuition for detail without the potential for application. And the sun is in the 1st line again, so we're back down in the lower trigram as we start through a new hexagram. So again, absorbed in its own process. So again, we've talked about that this is the line of the investigator, where something needs to be investigated because there's an anxiety that triggers the need for investigation. And then, of course, we also have Venus in the 28, moving there from the 50 as well. And in human design, we talked about Venus being powerful and misunderstood, as it's about morality and natural law. Venus in the 28, again, the game player, preponderance of the great, the transitoriness of power and influence. And Venus is detrimented in the 28-1, preparation, detrimented, the aesthetic appreciation of planning that may have no real application, and intuition for detail without the potential for application. And with the sun and Venus in the 28, and we've got Pluto in the 38. This gives us the channel of struggle, which is going to be affecting us until October 30th. This brings experiences where people struggle against overwhelming odds. It's through this archetypal hero's journey of fighting for our purpose that empowers others to stubbornly fight for what holds meaning for them. This is about empowerment that comes from being who you're meant to be instead of following the conditioning of our families, schools, religions, or governments. It's said to be deaf. Individual circuitry is said to be deaf. So it doesn't hear the other and become distracted from its authentic path. For folks without a defined root center, this transit can bring pressure. And then we talked about the defined splenic center bringing intuition and well-being, and that Ra had warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. And again, we're looking at individual circuitry, so we've got melancholy or that blue feeling that should be best channeled into some type of creative activity. And the sun is continuing to move through the 32nd, the 50, the 28, and then next week we'll get to the 44, which are all gates associated with the Minerva godhead, which was covered in last week's offering. So no matter what energies are conditioning you during the week, remember this is an experience is about being a passenger, riding in a vehicle that's being driven by the magnetic monopole. So watch the scenery and let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of our lifetime on the world stage, but just take some time out to observe the play as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out the New World Birth, and that the next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on October 26th of 2014. It should be available on the 25th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, and YouTube, as there's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. And I'm going to be discussing the transits of November 2014 and providing some short human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebels show on Truth Frequency Radio on Tuesday, November 4th. The show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I come on at 1:30 and the show wraps up by 3. It's a great show. You can participate in it by going to the Earth Needs Rebels tab on truthfrequencyradio.com and click on that. Get into the chat space. You can message Katie to get her your information for a reading or to send her your birth information, or you can personal message her or email her if you want to do it with more privacy. And feel free, if you wanted to send her your phone number, they will call you for free anywhere on the planet to bring you live onto the show. And I encourage you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. And some people have asked what my readings are like, because I do work with astrology and human design. And let me use an example of being a playwright. I use human design for the character description. Who's the character that's happening in the play? And then I use astrology to describe which scenes of the play that person is experiencing in their life. And then what is the person's line in those scenes in the play? Well, that's their strategy and authority. So that's really how I use the systems in the readings that I offer. It gives a very holistic approach to what's going on in your life and who you are as you navigate these different experiences. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And I'm very grateful to those of you who have given us donations, and to those of you who have gotten readings, because I consider that a really great way to make a donation, because it helps us out and it helps you out, because you get really wonderful information about yourself and what's going on in your world. Um, so anyway, as always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. In Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. And I'm deeply grateful that you've taken the time to check out New World Birth, and look forward to connecting with you on the radio show, or hopefully in a reading, or certainly in a future video. So thanks, everybody. All my best. Peace.